Mad Cat Audio. All right, welcome to this week's episode of Take What You Need, the podcast. This episode is going to be very different than what we've rolled out up until this point. We kind of just wanted to throw something at the wall and see what sticks. So welcome to my diary, because basically I'm just talking about my feelings and what I'm going through at the moment and hoping that it relates to someone and someone hears that and makes that their marching song as they continue to work through this life. We are navigating so blindly, and I think that's important to note. So just take what you need from this episode, because it's just a little bit different than what we've been offering. Just a little yap session, because I feel like the girls just need that. We just need a little yap, and I certainly did. So I hope you enjoy. So with that, I invite you to get into a nice, comfortable seated position. You can soften your gaze or close your eyes. There is no right or wrong way to show up in this moment. Take a deep breath in the nose and let it out with a sigh through the mouth. And I invite you to come as you are and take what you need. I have just been feeling so heavy and so raw and so stretched in this time of our lives. We just finished the full moon in Aquarius, which was pretty gnarly, and we're also in the midst of a Mercury retrograde. And I don't like to fearmonger, and that's something I find with like a lot of like the spiritual girlies and the people that talk about Mercury retrograde, that it's like something to be so afraid of. And we all kind of like batten down the hatches and get really scared. And, you know, when I think it's just a time for us to go inward and just reflect and slow down, honestly, take our time with things. I have absolutely been feeling it. I would be a liar if I said I wasn't. It has been challenging. Things have been rescheduled. Things have been canceled. Things are getting cleared out of the way. I'm feeling pressure in all aspects of my life. So I just wanted to get an episode in where we kind of just talk, and hopefully someone can feel a little bit more seen and feel a little bit more held in this container, because shit, it is hard. And I have been going through it, and I know we look for things for solace. I know we look for things to maybe be an escape, but I just kind of want this to be a real conversation, a real place to put it, a real place to lay these things down and show up imperfectly, show up just with what you have, because not every time is going to feel like we have it all, you know, figured out, and we're shiny and we're new and we're Barbie and we're present and all that shit. Sometimes it's just not that. And I want to make room for all of that in all of my endeavors. I want there to be room for that. We're trying to get this episode set up, and I was telling Maddy, like, there's room for all of this. There's room for just humanness. There's room to just be here and show up with what it is. And if it's chaotic and messy and ungrounded and frustrated and all those things, it is okay. That is perfectly good and perfectly okay. I feel like we need to make room for each other while we're figuring these things out, and room for that kind of space for all of us to just show up fully, because like I'm not going to show up at 100 every time. I think that's part of my wounding in a way, is that I try to pretend like I'm at 100 all the time when I'm not, for the sake of, you know, comfortability of others, making other people feel comfortable and good when I'm not. And that's something that I'm working on, and I'm super prevalent about. And I think that's kind of what's been illuminated for me in this last week, is like no more discomfort for my sake, no more discomfort for the sacrifice of myself. And we've been kind of just navigating together and separately in our own endeavors, me and Maddy both, and just navigating what that looks like, what that means for us. And like, there's a lot of trial and error that comes with that as well, and showing up again, like, very imperfectly and being like, well, this is what it looks like, and it's not great, and it's kind of ugly, and like, do you still love me? You know, and that's so human and real. But I wanted to just encourage all the listeners, while they're kind of being here with us today, just to allow yourself to be here now and give yourself some grace while we just kind of figure out what the next steps are and who we're supposed to be, and making space and room to shed things that we're not anymore. I am an eldest daughter. I'm a people pleaser. I'm a parentified child. And a lot of my reworking is to put other people's comforts and desires and needs above my own for the sake of surviving, honestly. And it's gotten me this far, but it's not been, it's been to my detriment. It's been to my own, sacrifice. And I'm getting confronted with that head on a lot at the moment. And it's been really, really challenging. And I've had to like stand up for myself and speak my truth and assert boundaries, which I find to be really hard. like everything inside me is like, just do the opposite of that. Do the opposite of the boundary that you want to set to like make that other person feel better. And then I'm in it. I'm resentful. I'm pissed. I'm mad. I'm like distant. Like, there's so much resistance in my body while I'm doing the thing I said I overcommitted to, doing the thing that I promised I would. And I mean, this conversation might just kind of be a meandering, and that's perfectly fine. And there's no kind of rhyme or reason for, being human. There's no guidebook for this. We're all faking it and trying to figure it out. And I think too, there's another like element, I guess, to this is the self-doubt that comes in when we're trying to navigate these things, or I don't know, just trying to figure out, where we show up in this world and who we are. For me, I have a few different like negative core beliefs that show up when I'm being challenged, especially in times like this. My first and loudest is nobody cares. So it's like when you put out something that you're really proud of and it just doesn't, like, flops, and you're like, oh, okay. And like, we've touched on this with other people, other creatives, other healers in this space. They're like, I've churned and I've made this beautiful butter and nobody cares. And, I feel that way a lot, especially just putting out new things, standing on my own 2 feet. I have to remind myself constantly that I have love and support and I care. And that's the rebuttal in my mind. And sometimes the other, the negative self-talk wins, but I care. I care about these things. And with having like a social media platform that honestly, like, I didn't intend for it to grow like that. It was just something I wanted to just do for myself and for a few of my friends. And I was so glad that somebody else was going to feel it. I'm so glad that it took off the way it did. But a big part of that is, that exposure. And when you do things and you put stuff out there and it doesn't hit the way you thought it would, you're like, okay, wow, like, nobody cares. And that's hard. That's a hard truth. That's a hard, not truth, but it's a hard inner monologue to face. And your brain is always looking for patterns, right? Your brain is always looking for things to cling to provide, fact for yourself, to keep you safe and to keep you alive. And so when you see things like that constantly reinforce that belief, it's so hard to undo when you're looking at your stuff and being like, wow, like, no one gives a shit, like, nobody cares, and I'm screaming into the void. and that is crazy. So sitting with that, sitting with those wounds, what other like negative self-talk, I think for me, it's just that I've put a lot of my own stuff on the back burner for a long time. And so then it comes and rears its ugly head and we're all left with our own, stuff. We're all looking at our own things like, holy shit, like this is a bigger mountain than I thought. And I think we also isolate in those times as well. Again, that kind of feeds into that nobody cares. You're on your own. You don't have any support. You don't have any backup. You don't have anybody because nobody cares. And that can be really tough. So if you're experiencing anything remotely like that, I hear you. I see you. I feel you. I hope that you're able to quiet the noise, even if it's not about getting rid of it completely. I think giving yourself room to quiet the noise at the beginning, at best, instead of trying to fight it, trying to ignore it. If you can just give yourself a little bit of space from that. And I learned a technique. I can't remember where I learned it from, but questioning the voice and being like, who said that? Whose voice is that? Where did that belief stem from? And like, instead of being afraid of it, getting curious about it and uncovering it, giving yourself, doing a little bit of work to realize like, whose voice is that? Who am I listening to? Like, it sounds like mine, but I wouldn't say that to myself. I wouldn't talk myself down that way. I wouldn't tell myself that nobody cares. So whose voice is that stemming from, and where does that come from? And what wound am I, one, picking at, and two, what am I trying to do to keep myself safe? So for me, it looks like putting myself out there can be dangerous and open you up to critique and open you up to, opinion, which is hard. And some people not everyone's going to jive with what you're doing or what you're saying or thinking. And there's so much out in the world. There's so much content and information and knowledge to be consumed. So sometimes, it's not going to stick with everyone. And I think for me, that's been a huge and really hard lesson for me to learn, is that I'm not for everybody. I've always wanted to be for everybody. I want to be loved, and I want everyone to say nice things about me all the time. And I care a lot about what people think of me, and like that, their opinions do matter. And there are people in my life that I hold very near and dear, and I want them to be proud of me and care. And so I think maybe that initial response is, keeping myself contained, keeping myself small, away from ridicule, away from being exposed for being a human being, a flawed and nervous and vulnerable human being, maybe to shy away from that kind of openness that allows people to see me and ultimately choose not to love me if that's the case. They see something they don't like and they decide that that's not for them. And to me, being okay with that and making space for that, because there are so many people on the same, other side of that coin. It's that there are so many people that can and do love me and love you. And it's not about the one person that doesn't. I've had plenty of people come into my comment sections and have something to say. And you'd think like a positive place on the internet would be safe from that kind of thing, but it brushes against people's triggers. It makes people, it exposes other people maybe to something that they weren't ready to be exposed about. And it's an interesting, I don't read the comments anymore. It's too hard for me. I'm very, very sensitive and would prefer not to know what anybody's thinking. But people feel so inclined to do that, and that is their God-given right to do that. But yeah, it's just an interesting place to unravel and think about and be exposed and be open. And I guess my next question would be for myself really is like, how do you navigate doing that? How do you navigate self-care and showing up for yourself? And honestly, like, I just do it really scared most of the time. I feel my anxiety, I feel my nervousness, but I know like the more I expose myself really is the better it'll get for myself. Is like the more I do these things that make me afraid, and the more I allow myself to just be open and being my full self, I still, I get to keep coming back and reminding myself like I'm still full, I'm still me, I'm still intact. And not everybody has to, love what I'm doing or who I am. I'm not for everyone, and it's okay. We just had the Lionsgate portal actually pretty recently too. And it's so funny because I decided to stop doing money magic for now. I just needed a break from money magic. I feel like I have a lot of like money wounds, and I'm trying to figure out how to navigate those things from a more neutral and educated place rather than a feeling place. And Maddy had recommended the Financial Feminist book to me. She's been recommending it to me for the last year, probably. Yeah, by Victoria Dunlap. And I finally like picked it up at the library like a month or two ago and basically like cried. And no exaggeration, I cried every page pretty much. I didn't even get to the 4th chapter because I had held it on too long and I had to give it back to the library. But I cried so much during that book because I was just realizing how much is entangled around money and how much is entangled in my worth and how much I'm carrying and I'm trying to avoid and not look in the eye. And it's all just information. It's all just words, but I legitimately cried like every single page and I had to give it back to the library. And so I apologize if anyone from the Ojai Library gets like a waterlogged copy of the book. It was my fault and I did it. And I apologize. So I ended up buying it again so I could have my own copy to cry into, and I will be revisiting it. But all of this to say, I mean, this is just ramblings of a girl, but yeah, I just do it scared. I still do the things. I still show up. I'm just scared. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like, I just do it a little bit afraid, and I just prove to myself that I can. And I come out a little like more, like a little less unscathed every time. So that's, to me, it builds my confidence in myself. But again, it's easier said than done. And I respect that. So wherever you are in your healing journey and doing it scared is not an option, that's perfectly okay too. I've also taken that route where I've waited or paused or held back the flow of things because of my fear. And I found that I became more uncomfortable and I would get squeezed more and more. And to the point where I had to make a decision. So, I mean, you could also go that route. That's also open to you as well. Like leaving my job, I was so scared to leave my job. For many, many months, I had known I had reached a turning point at one point with my job and I wanted to leave, but I wasn't quite ready financially. And I mean, there was never going to be a right time financially for me, honestly. I was living paycheck to paycheck. Like, what was I talking about? As if there was like some later date where I'd have like 10K in the bank. And that's just not the reality that I was living in. But I was so afraid to leave my job and this, the stability of having that paycheck coming in. And I just kept thinking I could hang on a little longer. I could do this a little bit, more. It'll get better, whatever the case may be. Whatever thing I needed to tell myself to just get through the next week. And I just kept getting more and more uncomfortable. And I would cry and I would be so tired and so tense. And it just got to a place I felt like I was just getting backed into a corner. And they were like, they being my team, my guides, my angels, being like, okay, like you need to leap. Like you need to be froggy. You need to leap. And like I had both Maddy and Maddy's sister Ruby being like, just quit. And I'd be like, I can't. I'm scared. Like I don't want to do that. I'm so scared. Like And Ruby being like, what's the only thing holding you back? I'm like, money, dude. Like, always. But they were such like the maid crusaders, like in my head, like money can be made, you know, like there's other ways to make money than just having a job. Like you could do this, and being so supportive and whatever. It was still the scariest thing I've probably ever done to date. Easily, probably. Yes, without a doubt. But I waited a long time, and it was really scary. But it's been fruitful and scary, and I'm navigating, and I feel like there's a fog in front of my eyes, and I don't have the next step loading. I mean, it's not news to me yet. It has not been revealed to me yet, this next step that I'll be taking. And maybe it does feel like a little bit of a holding pattern while I'm trying to like go nowhere fast. My internal rhythm is to move quickly and to be like a bit stealth about the way I show up in life. I feel like I've kind of realized in this time of quiet that I feel this anxiety of being inherently wrong a lot, or inherently bad, which is something I've like just recently started to uncover, this like energy of like, oh, I'm not supposed to be here. Like I'm an imposter. They're going to find me out. And I've been doing something wrong this whole time. Like I'm just trying to get away with something, which I mean isn't really how I like to operate. Like I'm a very honest person, and I have a lot of integrity, and I like to be, you know, above board, and everything that I like to do is not, you know, shady or sneaky or seedy. I don't want to pull one over on anyone, but for whatever reason my existence feels that way. Like in the quiet corners of my mind, I'm like, I shouldn't be living in this apartment. Like I shouldn't have these things. I shouldn't do these things. Like they're gonna find me out and take it away from me. Like I've somehow like tricked everyone around me, and that is like the weirdest thing to like uncover about myself, because it does feel like at any given moment like this is all like the jig will be up, and it's all just been, I don't know, like a facade somehow. Like all the things that I've done or achieved have all been like fake, which is a whole other thing to untangle here. But ultimately all this to say is that I'm just winging it like everyone else. This is as human as I can be about it. I'm literally scared all the time, and yet I still keep going forward. And when Maddy and I were trying to figure out how to kind of like navigate this episode, I was like, I don't really have like an agenda, and I'll just kind of like say things, but I didn't want to like leave the listeners on like a negative note, or just like, well, that's it, here you are. like it's hard, and that's the period at the end of the sentence. But I don't want it to feel that way. I just want everyone to realize like we're all just human beings, and we're just trying to navigate with what we have and what tools are in our kits. And whether we learn to seek more tools or other, you know, support or other people, like we are all truly just navigating like very blind. I think the best kept secret is that everyone is faking it, and no one knows what the fuck they're talking about or what they're doing. And that gives me a lot of solace, because in a way it tells me like we're all like, nobody has it sorted. No one really knows. And if there's someone I think that they have it together, they're just winging it just like me. And I think that kind of stomps out a little bit of the shame that I feel when I'm like, I cannot seem to figure it out. That's another one of my like mental like notes in my mind, or like I cannot seem to figure it out. I just have not seemed to figure it out. Whenever I'm in the quiet corners of my mind, that's another one that comes up for me, is I just have not seemed to figure it out. And it being life or the thing in front of me, or just existence in general, I just have not seemed to figure it out. And I think if you're feeling that way too, like give yourself release a little bit of that pressure to have it figured out, because there's not one way to do this life, right? There's not one way to show up And even the people that I admire the most are literally just winging it just like me. Like, we're all just winging it. And just like you, like we're all just trying to figure it out, and no one really knows what the fuck they're doing. So I hope that can give you a little bit of like sweetness. Maddy just gave me a thumbs up. So I think we're on the right track here. Yeah, we're all just here. We get this one precious life, and we get to decide what we do with it. And I keep also feeling like this energy of like borrowed time, or just time being so precious while we're trying to navigate this precious life, this one precious life, and what that means to us. And I know I've spent a lot of time worrying. I've spent a lot of time being afraid in my life, and still continue to do the things that I've done and achieve the things that I've, achieved in my life. But I'm ready to turn a new leaf with this chapter of my life, and not do everything so afraid, and not do everything with like what it feels like a knife behind my back. Like, I just want to show up in my joy. I want to show up in my presence. I want to show up in my peace. And life's gonna life. So, I mean, we're still gonna have to, deal with things that might not be ideal, or feel squeezed, or feel scared, or feel all those things, which that's valid. This is a human experience. I think we're all put down here to feel it all, to learn everything, to experience everything, to taste the depths of what this life has to offer us, and pass that wisdom along. And one way or another, like, we're all navigating, and there's not just one path to do this life. And I keep imagining, or I just keep seeing in my mind's eye, like, just so many different pathways that we could be taking, and we're all just trudging, the different pathways, and not one is going to look the same as the other, and it's all going to end up in one place anyways. So I feel like while we're navigating, and while we're, searching and seeking and resting, like, no one knows. No one really knows, and that's totally okay. And then on this other flip side of my own, thoughts is nobody really knows, and nobody really cares. And maybe that's empowering too, is that maybe we're sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, these people, everybody's thinking about me. Everybody's looking at me. Everybody's so concerned about what I'm up to and what I'm doing in my life. And I don't really think that's always the case. I feel like everybody else is engulfed in their own minds, trying to figure out what their next step is, and how they're going to navigate through the things that they're navigating through. Not everybody is really, all that pressed about the person next to them most of the time. And so maybe that can also be freeing in that sense too. I feel like this is a word salad episode. And I've touched on a lot of things that, I don't know, that I'm going through, and that I think someone else might just need to hear. And I hope that you can just kind of navigate with me and give me space to be human, and allow myself, my flawed, very unprepared existence as well, and just see me a little more clearly as well. Yeah, I think that's important for all of us, to give us all ourselves a little bit of grace, and give each other that amount of grace while we're all just operating with what we have. And yeah, nothing's perfect, but we keep trying, and I think that's a beautiful thing. And there's still so much room for beauty and miracles and goodness to shine through while we navigate the hard stuff. And I think we get so trained on completing a hurdle, going to the next hurdle, like planning our next, means of attack, rather than just really savoring, like, okay, like I made it. I did it. This is what I learned. This is what I'm proud of. I know I'm guilty of this. I will literally I'll be stressed about something, so stressed, it'll get resolved. I literally just find something else to stress about. There's never any reprieve. It does not stop. And I want to work. This is my vow to the listeners, and to Maddy, and to our podcast and the ether, that I'm going to slow down and acknowledge my wins, and acknowledge the reprieve, acknowledge the reprieve and be grateful and say thank you and rest easy in that, at least for a moment, before I start scanning the horizon again for the next potential threat. But that's my promise. That's what I promise to walk away with this episode doing. It's just honor the reprieve, honor the breath in between, because life is built on all those little moments, good and bad. So I want to start illuminating and training my brain to recognize those beautiful moments and relish in them as well, rather than just jump to the next thing without, even considering that I made it. Giving myself a break, giving my systems a break. Yeah, this episode it's chaos, but it's loving chaos. It's humanity, it's humanness, it's vulnerability, it's intimacy, it's me exposing my underbelly to you all. So be gentle with my underbelly. The fuck was that episode?
Are we gonna keep that last part in?
Yes, of course. That was sincere. Take What You Need, the podcast was created by Lexi Bordeaux and Madeline Doss. Original music and production by Madeline Doss. If you'd like to book an in-person or virtual session with me, you can find all of my information for Light and Sable Healing in the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, please add it to your library, follow the show, leave us a review, and send it to a friend. It's the best way to spread the healing that you just heard. I invite you to join on Patreon. Patrons of Take What You Need enjoy exclusive updates, minisodes, shoutouts on the show, Reiki sessions, and more. Go to the show notes for the link, as well as all the links for our socials. This is a Bad Cat Audio podcast.